I am really nervous about trying to make a video. I'm using another smartphone for a reason that will be obvious in a minute or two. Every time I've turned this thing on, the screen has started blinking, and I cannot find the reason for it. I've disabled every possible application I can find and done all sorts of stuff. It's not blinking yet. Let's see what happens. The reason I'm using a smartphone, first I should explain, I've got a sack of smartphones now. I got the smartphone that I use, I got the smartphone that I used to use, and then I've got my dad's smartphone. And that's an interesting story, at least to me. My dad is getting up in years. He's a very smart guy, best lawyer I've ever known. Could have been on the Supreme Court, no problem. Getting up in years, and learning new things is not as easy as it used to be. I have to look out for him to a certain degree. So I got him a consumer cellular smartphone, and this is a company that caters to old people. And this smartphone was supposed to be very easy to use. It's a Huawei LTE something or other. And oddly enough, he started complaining about it, and I thought, well, he's not trying, or maybe he's reached the point where he just can't work these things. And then I tried to use it myself, and I found it confusing, and that made me really upset. So that's what you get for buying a $50 smartphone. So I ordered him a different smartphone, and I took this one, and now I'm going to use it as a remote control for my action camera, which you can see over there. I didn't want to use it to shoot videos, but I need to now because obviously the camera is not available. And what I wanted to show you was this thing. This is what I wanted to talk about. This is an action camera flexible mount thing. They use these for tree stands, for animals, for hunting and so forth. It's got a clamp on the bottom, and this was like $30 on Amazon. And I decided to buy an expensive one. They're all Chinese, I thought, well, I'll buy the good Chinese one that everybody seems to like for $29 instead of the ones that get like 3 ratings for $8 or whatever. Turned out I made a mistake. I should have bought the cheap ones. This thing, there's some nice things about it, and I'll tell you what they are. One thing is it's very stiff. If you put your camera in a certain position, it's going to stay there. Don't worry about that. Now, I have a feeling it's going to, jiggle a little bit. If you have it on anything that vibrates, I'll bet that it will, and I'll bet it would also vibrate if there was any wind. But for most conditions, I think this ought to be great. It's very stiff. However, look at this. This is what you use to hold it onto stuff. This is the clamp. And now I'm having a hard time squeezing it because I'm doing it wrong. I was about to tell you how weak it is, and I'm having a hard time. Oh, the screen is blinking. Why are you blinking? Let me turn this thing. No, it has now stopped blinking. Okay, you know what? Just go ahead and blink. Do whatever you want to do. I'm going to make the video. It's a crazy phone. So this is the clamp that holds it onto stuff. And it's got this, I don't know, like a thing that a woman would use to restrain her ponytail. If you want to clamp it on something round, I guess, to without scratching it, you use that. I really wonder if that would work. But anyway, there it is. And this is the problem with the system. This is a very weak spring. And I'm doing it again, trying to do it wrong. Very weak spring. And unless you open it way, way out, you don't get much pressure. If you open it really far, you're putting a lot of pressure on the spring, and it grips a little tighter. It still doesn't grip very well. What happens is it slides around and it moves, and then your expensive camera falls on the ground and breaks in a billion pieces. And then where are you? In trouble. So I don't like it. I gave this thing a poor rating on Amazon. Go ahead and blink. I don't care. Go ahead and blink. Do whatever you want to do. Is that all you got? Stupid camera. All right. So stupid phone, I should say. There's a reason you were replaced. So I thought, what am I going to do? Should I keep this thing? I mean, it will work, Some people use magnets and so forth. Magnets in a shop where you're doing machining, not always a great idea. Stuff sticks to them. Also, what if you're trying to film in a place where there's nothing magnetic, there's no iron, no steel that you can grip on? So what do? You're in trouble. I decided clamps were the way to go. And sure, go ahead and blink. I told you I don't care. Stop it. Fine. So here's what I'm thinking. Why not? This is my Husky clamp. This is one of my Husky clamps. You get these at Home Depot for, I don't know, $5 or something. I never use it. I should use it because it's a nice, handy clamp. Home Depot, only the finest. And anyway, I'm thinking what I'll do is, well, you can see how this works. Look at that. See, it screws onto this terrible Chinese clamp. Go ahead. I see you're blinking. I don't care. This Chinese thing, it screws on. It's got a screw and a nut. So why can't I put a screw and a nut through this thing? And this thing, the red clamp grips a lot harder. I have calculated that I've determined that it grips 2.6 times as hard. And the way I determined that was I put it on my finger, and then I put this other one on my finger, and I felt 2.6 times as much pain. So that's got to be accurate. That's science. All right, so time to drill a hole. I'm noodling around with this, and I've learned a few interesting things. One interesting thing that I learned is that I'm missing 2 sockets from my nice SK socket wrench set, and someone's going to die when I find out who lost them. The other thing I found out is, boy, it's tough to get in here. Look at this. You know, not easy to get in there. I don't know how they attach these things. You can't get a socket in there with the universal or whatever. There's no way. So it's a 14 millimeter wrench, and I'm just doing it the hard, slave-like manual way with the camera blinking again. I don't care. You know what? Your days are numbered, Mr. Cell Phone. Interesting thing, this hole is not round. It's got 2 flats on it. Now, why is that? Oh boy, this thing has flats on it. Do I care? I don't think I care. I don't know. I mean, how are you going to make a hole that has flats on it? You could put it on the milling machine. That seems a little extreme to me. I'll figure it out. I got it drilled out. And this is like, I don't know. I mean, if you're interested in this kind of thing, this is a size W drill bit. That's about right. And I'm going to guess if you get one of these Chinese things, you know, your nut or bolt or whatever, your bolt will be probably the same size. I was not able to make it square on 2 sides, but I'm not really worried about that. I don't think it's going to matter. I'm going to crank the crap out of it, put some Loctite on it, tighten it down as much as I can, and I hope that it will stay in there. And I had to use a step drill on this. Really irritating. When you try to use a normal drill on this, even Harbor Freight, the finest drills imaginable, it just goes crazy because it's flimsy and wobbly and has a spring on it. It's hard to put pressure on it. So I used a small drill bit, a small jobber drill, trying to, you know, just open it up and get a pilot hole. And sure, go ahead and blink. I don't care. I told you about that. And then I followed it up with a step drill, which is great. Machinists don't seem to like step drills too much, but they work beautifully. You know, they're really easy to use, and they're the kind of thing slackers use. One size fits all, but step drills are great. Let me see if I got one over here. This is not the one I used, but anyway, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. For thin metal, fantastic. For thick metal, well, then you got a problem, but because they only go down so far. So I'm going to slap this thing together. By the way, I did the first stage of drilling on this without safety glasses, and there's a good reason why you should always do that. It's so other people who use tools, other machinists, don't think you're a sissy. If you don't believe me, go back and look at videos of people using machinery like in old instructional videos in World War II. Those guys didn't use glasses. And sure, a lot of them came back home with one eye, but those guys got a lot of chicks off of that. I don't know if you realize that. So I did eventually find my glasses. So the step drill part, I did use proper protection. All right, we'll see what happens. Everything is harder in real life than it is in your mind. Have you noticed that? I got this thing attached. See that? Getting this, you can see it's blue because I got Loctite on it. I should have put red or green or whatever the tough one is. Anyway, it's very tough getting this nut tight. Where's the crummy clamp that came with this? Did I already throw it in the trash? I should, because it was a horrible thing. Well, I don't see it. Who knows where it is? The point I'm trying to make is, even though that clamp was garbage, it was wide. Yes, I know you're blinking. It was wider across here than this clamp, so it's easier to get a wrench in there, a 14 millimeter wrench. And I've been trying all my 14 millimeter wrenches, trying to get in there, and I can sort of get in there with the socket. By the way, you want to see something cute? Orange. I took a Sharpie paint marker and did this to a bunch of my sockets, so now I can actually read them once in a while. And you wouldn't believe the difference it makes. You can read them without your 50 power reading glasses that you need after you turn 45. So I'm going to make sure this thing is good and tight. I don't care if I have to weld it. I'll get it on there. And hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate it. Well, you're now looking at my lathe, you're looking at the spindle instead of looking at me or looking at the side of the quick change tool holder, tool post. What am I saying? You're looking at what you're actually supposed to see, which is a big change. The Husky clamp is on the chip, whatever you call this thing. What do you call the thing that blocks the chips from flying off your lathe anyway? The shroud, the whatever it is, the shield. It's clamped onto that, and it seems to be holding pretty well. I'm still not overly excited about this thing, but right now it's extended like at a straight out horizontally. So this is like the maximum leverage that you can ever apply to the mount. This is as bad as it's ever going to get, as hard as it will ever be on the mount. And it's not, you could, if you bumped it or something, you could knock it off. Nonetheless, it is way, way better than that piece of junk that it came with, that stupid clamp. I still don't know where that is. I'm afraid I'm going to step on it. So, if you get one of these things, if you get one of these mounts, I highly recommend it if you can find it cheaper than what I paid, and if you don't mind drilling a hole in a Husky clamp. And if you have an end mill of the correct size, which would be, geez, I don't know, whatever comes between a 1/4 of an inch and 3/8. I mean, there aren't, usually end mills go 1/4 of an inch, 3/8, 1/2 an inch. You know, maybe if you got a 5/16 or something, that would be a nice thing to use. You could drill a hole that's longer than it is wide, and that would kind of restrain your mount as it connect in the little hole where it connects to the clamp. Another great idea would be just to simply put a couple of TIG dots on there so it can't go anywhere. And I may end up doing that because I still don't trust it. Anyway, this will work. And it should work much better much better than it's working for me right now, as long as you've got the mount oriented kind of vertically. Because when it's oriented vertically, it's not putting as much pressure on the clamp. You know, the farther you stick it out to the side, the more it hangs out, the more of a moment arm you got, and then you got a clamp that wants to come loose. But I am very happy with this. I wonder if it will vibrate when I turn on the lathe. I'm curious about that. I'm going to try it. Hang on. I'm going to turn this off for a second. Okay, the juice is on. And we're rolling. Let's turn it on and see if the thing vibrates. Let me see. Is anything weird happening? Do I have the clutch in? I guess I'm alright. I'm just going to run it a little bit, and then when I put it on YouTube, I want to look at it and see if it's shaking. So, that's the story. I like this thing. I recommend it. It's better than buying a $100 Noga magnetic base. I think you ought to have a variety of these things. I'm guessing, I don't know anything about action cameras, but I'm guessing that you should probably have some magnetic ones too. Anyway, this works nice. I am happy. Now I can make videos where you can actually see something other than me. Peace out.